Right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Episode 2 of the Screen and Props podcast. Back again after a long break.
Yeah, longer
times.
than we wanted. I think.
The plan is to get it sort of routine, but it's been difficult. Like, I got ill, and then I think even the guy here got ill. We couldn't do it then, and then
do it certain days.
Just try and keep it back on track, but not too bad. It's
hopefully if we have a longer break, it fills it with more stuff to chat about. But yeah, I think we've both been.
Yeah, well, I think so. Yeah, well, we've both been. Yeah, we've both had things on, but in terms of the drone world, it's gone a bit quiet. DJI had obviously the flutter of like new products and things.
That's it. Yeah. I've still not pushed the button on an avatar. Plus, I'm letting everybody else be guinea pigs for a bit, right? Yeah. I think it's got certain issues to iron out.
I think that's the same with anything in drones generally, like even FPV as a whole, particularly like when a new video system comes out, you've got to kind of let people buy into it first and see what they start complaining about, see how quickly it gets resolved. I think the main thing is like the customer service as a whole.
Yeah, if that can hold up, then you're laughing at it.
So I don't know if DJI are like on it with fixing the stuff for the avatar, or whether they're still kind of.
It's funny. I actually used like the DJI like tech support for the first time the other day, and basically my Mini 2 just decided to throw a bit of a fit and start disconnecting, going into return to home all the time. And it wasn't intermittent. It was like every flight, like 10 seconds after taking off, it would do it.
Yeah.
And went through support and everything checked out absolutely fine, recalibrated everything, and went out to a field, tried it again, and exactly the same thing, and just I put it to set to hover so it didn't take off and go randomly haywire into return to home and get stuck somewhere. But I took a support ticket up with DJI, and I'd seen somebody's post about a similar thing, and they basically put it down to their SD card. And I said to the DJI support guys, I was like, I've used this SD card in my DJI goggles, and I haven't formatted it. I've just put it in. Okay. It's like it's clean, but I haven't formatted the card. And I just said, could that cause any issues? They're like, no, it shouldn't have anything to do with it disconnecting from the RC.
Yeah,
and anyway, I formatted the card and the problem's gone.
Oh, really? That's so weird.
So I don't know what's going on, but it didn't like the card. And the bit I can't remember is if it disconnected from the controller when I started recording or taking a photo, like when it was maybe trying to write something to the card that it threw a fit. But that was the first time I had to talk to them, and in the end solved it myself. And I said to them, could it be the card? And they were like, no, definitely won't be the card.
Well, yeah, I'd have probably said the same thing. I mean, I took my Mini 2 the other day. I took the SD card out, and I was like, I put it into my computer, and I was like, why is there loads of Cinewoop footage on this card? Right, and I realised I must have just swapped cards.
And I think that was my thing.
I used the same like standard card, or at least the same, not obviously the same card, but the same model of card and right speed and stuff. So they all look the same. Yeah. And I've not had any issues at all with my Mini 2. So, it could be. I guess it could be. Depends on. Yeah, if you're throwing firmwares and stuff on the DJI goggles.
So no, I don't really use the SD card in the goggles for anything. If anything, it was just an expensive SD card holder, to be honest. So I knew where the spare SD card was.
I've got that, but I've got too many cameras to the amount of SD cards I've got, and I've got to recalibrate.
Every time. But no, all good. Still enjoying the Mini 2. It didn't throw my confidence with it anyway. No. It's still a
I like my Mini 2. I don't use it enough, but when I do get it out and use it, it's quite a nice little tool.
Yeah, it's one of the things I just like have with me all the time. It was like, again at work today, I managed to get some photos and videos and stuff just because I was passing a project that we've got getting built outside, and it was just just dropped an email to the media department and said, "Do you mind?" And they're like, "No." But, nice. I can't talk about it yet because it's all top secret. So.
Yeah, top secret.
Come the end of November, I'll be able to
top
display the footage.
Outside for everyone to see.
It's really weird. Like you can see it like miles away. It's that big from the roadside, but nobody will quite understand what it's for yet.
Yes. That's cool.
But you've been racing as well, I hear.
Yes, we had the British Championships last weekend. I lost track of weekends now, but. It was pretty good fun actually. It was nice. could have flown better myself, I think, but at the same time, the standard is so good now. And everyone, I mean, even through, like, I ended up in the D final, but everyone through A to D was just, like, on it. Like, there was no one sort of bobbing around, and everyone was pushing hard. So, even into the lower down finals beyond that as well, it wasn't just that. This really, really close. You've got, like, the guys at the top who were just another league, like A final guys. But then everyone sort of B through D and E final is all they're all fighting pretty for the same space.
But
now because they put lap caps in as well, so usually what happens is to sort of try and help save batteries and make the racing a bit tighter is you'll do like the first round, and depending on how many sort of laps the fast guys are doing, they'll then consult with them and go, well, what should we cap the number of laps at? So this time it was 4, and then actually on the second day, because the wind had dropped on the Sunday, it was like everyone had dropped like 10 seconds.
I was going to say some of the footage I saw, it looked like it was quite a windy.
Yes, the first day was, and it just meant like because of the way the track was set out as well, it was mainly that you only really had it on like 2 parts of the track. Okay. And you lost a lot of time because of the wind, because at one point you're basically going quite full throttle into the wind. And at one point I was like full throttle. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Because I was literally
going turn a corner and all of a sudden,
and then suddenly you come back around the next like, whoa, overshot it. But no, really good track.
Nice.
It was a bit of a battery killer, but I think it's just when you're pushing that hard.
I guess.
It wasn't too bad. A lot of people said that they had, on the first day, they had difficulties with batteries, but I was
making the batteries last.
Yeah, I think, but as people kind of ironed out sort of a few turns, made things a bit smoother. I think that got better. So
nice.
But camps there. It's pretty good. It wasn't too cold for this time of year. I was lucky, and then
it's a nice facility down there. I know I've been like a couple of the reunions and stuff.
Yeah.
They're always down there, and it's decent. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good spot to have it. There's nothing around, so you can just
definitely
kind of enjoy it.
It does always seem to be windy there. Like I say, there must be something about Buckminster that gets. Whenever I've been for these reunions, it's been like 2 days of wind, and then one day it'll just be like idyllic. It'll be like just perfect for some reason. That's every time I've been there.
Yeah, so the last Nationals I went to, it was actually quite calm. Well, it wasn't calm, but it wasn't that windy for how windy it can be at Buckminster. So, but the first day was pretty windy, and then the second day was pretty calm actually, and it was quite nice to get back to flying in kind of calmer conditions.
What's everybody flying these days? I think when I was when we were on the last podcast, I said obviously I've been out of the drone racing world for quite a while, kind of thing, and just kind of been looking back into it since we last spoke, really.
Yeah.
But who's kind of, I don't know, it seems the pictures I've seen of like people's quads and setups, everybody seems to be on like Radio Master, and then there's one frame that seems to be pretty dominant. I don't know what it is, but
so the Radio Master radio is a pretty popular radio, and some of the there's a bit of hype behind having all metal gimbals rather than plastic ones.
Right.
I was still running plastic ones just with the Hall effect, so they're more accurate, and not having any issues. There's a few radio protocols. So there's Immersion RC came out with their Ghost protocol a year or 2 ago now, and that's like absolutely rock solid. I've never had a fail-safe on it. Nice. It's absolutely ridiculously good. But there's Express LRS as well, which is the cheaper option, which is quite popular. But because it's open source, it's finding a good quality.
Is the Radio Master one with like a module in the back?
Yes, it's got a module, and you can get. I think it's the Joshua Bardwell edition TX16 comes with Express LRS built in. So, I think the radio I've got is slightly different. It's a knockoff of a Jumper T18, I think, but it's got its own like 5-in-1 like module thing. So you can run like FR Sky or Fly Sky.
That's it. The Jumper T16 was my last radio kind of thing before I got rid of them. But and that was pretty much just all singing, all dancing. There was just a long list of makes to pick from.
Yeah, and it kind of so everyone's kind of narrowed down to the TX16S. That seems to be the go-to one for racing. The Futaba was a popular one for a while when everyone was on Crossfire, because that had the lowest latency internally on the radio between the sticks and the actual.
And what was that giving out?
So OpenTX radios had a lot more delay internally, and now there's a firmware called Edge TX which runs on a lot of these new radios, which gets around those problems, and it's even faster in the sim and stuff.
Right,
nice.
Nice.
But yeah, other than that, a lot of the top guys now running 6S, and it started that 6S was better for consistency throughout the pack. So you get to the end of the pack, and then it would just drop off the shelf. You weren't like slowly going down.
Right, okay, I see what you're saying.
But that was when we kind of matched the KV, so you go from like a 4S 2300 or 2500 to a 6S 1700.
And then drop the
KV to kind of balance the power output. So the actual RPM outputs at the end would be kind of the same.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of gone completely the other way. It's like we need more power, so it's like
as fast as we can.
We're running over 2000 KV on 6S now to try.
Okay. Cool.
And I don't know if it's going to go any higher, whether people are going to start running 2100 KV or whatever to get the edge. It's
spinning at a fair rate then.
Yeah, it's not very efficient, I don't think, but
just built for speed.
Yeah, that's it. They are fast, so.
And I guess looking at the frames and stuff, I've seen like loads of like the 3D printed fins on top, but I guess that's turtle mode is now a staple then.
Yeah, turtle mode is a staple. Like people play around with all sorts of stuff, but I mean, it depends who you are. We were at a track in Bristol, and because it was in the middle of like an athletics track, they had this like brand new like 400 meter running track, and they're like, if you land on the running track, you're not allowed to turtle. If you do any damage, you'll be paying for it.
Right. Okay.
So, so there's still some races where you're like, you can't use turtle mode, so it's like, oh no, I've got to actually fly this thing and not crash.
Yeah.
And the circuits this year, over the last few years, I think the circuits got quite technically demanding, especially like 2019.
Yeah.
You go to a race event and it's like, right, obstacle course time.
That's I look at the track designs now. I think I'd have no idea. It'd take me a weekend to learn where to go.
Yeah.
Compared to what we used to, like what I used to do, it was like a few flags and hoops.
Yeah.
And about as adventurous as it got was doing a split S over the top of a gate, and that was it.
We get towers and all sorts of stuff now.
Yeah.
But then I quite like that. I enjoy the circuits of it. It's I can pick it up quite quickly. I usually start off the day. Like I'll get some laps in the morning. They're not the fastest laps, but I'll get some laps in. I know where the track's going, and then I can. What I try and do is then work out the lines to go faster.
Yeah.
And that's when I crash a lot, and then I don't. I still end up not making any ground. But they have kind of gone through like, because it used to be there were obstacle courses, but everything was super like packed in together. I remember being at Delta Hawks, and it was like. The whole track was inside a golf green.
Right,
it was
okay.
Super small.
So by the time you finished one flag, then you were passing the next one.
Yeah, it was really tight, and I remember that day was super windy. It was manic, crazy. Yeah. But now it's kind of gone the other way. It's kind of eased out. So there are still technical features, but the tracks are spaced out enough that they flow nicely.
A bit of time to think.
So, but yeah, really good fun. But no, we've so the racing's done. That's done for the season now. I've got some events that I'm trying to organise for next month, or at least one event.
Yeah, got some racing stuff.
Some indoor racing, so that would be good. I've actually managed to find a place that isn't all metal.
Okay.
Indoors, so
imagine the noise.
The video should be reasonable. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
So there'll be more coming on that.
Sweet.
Probably tomorrow when I finally finish off all the promo stuff and talk to the organisers again.
Nice use of the skate park as well.
Yeah, hopefully, it'll be. The problem is that I've got is that it's not the biggest skate park, but you can definitely fit in a pretty good racing in it. But we wanted to have spectators as well, so that was we could use the whole space and have no one in it, or we could have use half of it and then keep one side for spectators and people and stuff, which I thought would be better because then it opens up to more people. More people like to watch it in real life as well. And it helps the venues up because they're not like, you just organise this whole event and it's like closed off.
We can't do
we can't engage with it. Yeah, so
that's sound.
So that's what we're sorting out at the moment. So I've got to buy some netting and stuff and things. Make it safe for people and things. But it should come together nicely. It should be got good support so far from some of the shops and sponsors and stuff.
Yeah, I guess it's nice to migrate indoors, coming into the winter months, get some. Keep the practice in and get some and stay warm at least.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we used to do well in the UK. So having a few winter events just kept people around.
Yeah.
I think over the last few years where it's kind of dropped off over winter, people haven't necessarily come back the following year. So, and because people don't want to go out in the cold and they'll get muddy, they don't want to have to clean loads of stuff and break. They break a quad in the cold and they're like, oh great, or the batteries die or whatever because it's too cold outside.
Too cold. So. I look back at a load of my old freestyle footage, and it seemed that I did most of my flying in the winter. I seemed to naturally look for gaps in trees because I could see them because there was no leaves anymore.
That's true.
But yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, that's the good thing now, especially with HD, is you can fly in winter when there's like just sticks, so and now you can see them.
Yeah.
Like before, it was like, I mean, even earlier in the year, I went and did some stuff in the moors, and I was flying down the street, and I was like, I won't be able to see any of these twigs.
Yeah.
Because I like scattered out first. I was like, there's loads of twigs either side, and fun enough in analog, couldn't see those twigs whatsoever.
Until it's too late.
And then been doing some other flying stuff with HD, and it's like, oh my god, I can see everything. See every detail. And it's really good.
HD wise, you're on walks now, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been using that, and I used that at the drift event, which I'll get onto in a bit about the other weekend, and it was kind of the first real test of like I'd obviously done some flying around testing before before I went to do that job, but I was like, right, this is the real like baptism of fire for the system. Like,
thrown in the deep end.
Is it gonna randomly drop out on me? Is it gonna be inconsistent? Is it gonna suddenly die halfway through the weekend and just go, nope, it's burnt out and failed? I'm like, I've had that with other systems before. And then, is it going to interfere with anything else? Is my radio link going to stop working because of the output from that? And no, I flew probably, I don't know, the first day I didn't have access to power, so I got through 11 lipos plus, I think I can charge 6 lipos off of my big 10,000 milliamp power pack that I've got. And I ran that pretty much bone dry.
Right, yeah.
So I've probably got at least 15, 16 packs a day out of it. And one of them was like back to back. And the only issue I had was when you go back to back is where they had the Betaflight OSD linked into it and working. If you unplug the battery and plug in a new one too fast, it doesn't clear down the end menu from the Betaflight OSD. It stays on.
Right.
And I think I worked out if you press like the back button on the goggles, it will get rid of it. But I flew at least 5 packs before working that out. So I was flying around chasing these drift cars with literally just like
parts of
end voltage. Like, I don't care. I literally just try to look at this car through all this lettering. But I've got before any more work, I've got some testing to do with some newer firmware. Which is the one they actually withdrew because they were worried that people claim they were getting like black frames and dropouts. Yeah. So they rolled back a firmware version.
So I think that's what I'd seen online. Various people.
Yeah. So I was running the previous one, the last event, because I was like, well, if I'm working this event, I'm going to go with what works. So I stuck on that. And it looked. Yeah. For me, it was fine. I just ran it at 720p, 50 megabits a second, high frame rate. Yeah. Final weekend. No problem.
720 sounds low, doesn't it? But it's not at all.
No, when you're in the goggles, it looks beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice. Especially, it's the bit rate that makes a bigger difference than the 1080, I think. The only reason I'd be keen to try the 1080s, and they were running the live stream there at the last event, and I did have a chat with them and said, I'd be tempted to try it at future events. If you had the 1080p HDMI out from the goggles into the live stream, then you've already, if you run it even at, I think you have to, at the moment you have to run it at the lower bit rate. That's the only problem. So 1080p 25 megabit per second rather than 50. But if you get 1080p 50 out and the latency wasn't too bad, then that would be pretty cool for live streams.
Chop into on the live feed, that'd be nice.
So something to play around with. I want to test it with some race pilots as well and see if it behaves any differently to DJI with analog setups and things.
See how many you can get.
I doubt it will behave much differently. It's basically, from what I understand, it's designed almost very closely to what's happening there.
Nice.
But it looks like it should, hopefully. It had gone quiet for a while, but I saw something in the Discord earlier today about someone saying that there was more beta firmware coming. So it sounds like they've gone quiet, but they've been quietly squirreling away trying to sort out some of these issues.
They've been working on stuff,
which is a good sign. And they brought out like a 1S VTX for some of the whoops and stuff. So.
Nice.
So that's good. And that's the other thing I've got to play with is which I bought for filming, doing more race footage especially because I use analog. I tried the HD0 system for racing, but it's just so expensive. Like every time a VTX dies, it's like 70 quid gone. It's just too much money. So I prefer my £10, cheapo VTXs with a decent antenna, and they work fine for racing. So I thought I got myself a Runcam Thumb Pro.
Oh yeah, just a little, the tiny
little tiny one, yeah. With the mindset to use it, it's kind of like a gyro logger as well for some more powerful camera stuff down the road, just to kind of play around with to start with. So it's in the box on my desk.
Nice.
Play with it,
Not play with it.
No. I had a chance to play with it because I think part of the issue is because it comes. You have to power it remotely, so you have to put a 5-volt line off of your drone and then plug that in. So once I've got round to sorting that out.
I didn't know that camera existed until I said when we did the last podcast, I was looking at looking at pieces for a sub 250 little build, but something with a decent camera, and it seemed I don't know that there was the odd build that people have done out there that they'd succeeded. But then that's where I discovered the little film camera.
Because it's only like 16 grams, so even compared to like tiny. The naked GoPro, it's like half the weight of those. It's it might not be that for some projects. It might be bang on, like where you've got like I had one idea with like even if I got like a little 2S like 75 or 85 mil whoop and just put that on top and just for some really close tight knit stuff where you really want to just bring safety into the focus.
What's it recording? What's it?
You can do 4K 30, I think.
No, that's pretty good.
But I don't think the bit rate's the best. I think that's the problem, and it's a tiny sensor, so you're not the amount of information you're going to get out is pretty low. But in those tight knit situations where you kind of it's maybe a good option.
Yeah, it'll have a purpose, won't it?
Yeah, so try and use it, and I thought for racing and stuff and do more race videos and things.
Obviously, it's not a massive weight.
No, we weren't because you used to notice I mean, doing some promo for this event I'm doing next month. Flying around the skate park then with a full GoPro Hero 10 on, I was trying to take off, and I was like, oh my god, this throttle is like massively different. Got used to it quite quickly, but it just changes the whole dynamics of it. Whereas, you stick a 16 gram thing, like you design a turtle fin for it to just mount into as well. It's probably not too dissimilar to the weight of an extra turtle fin on it anyway. They're usually weighing about 5-10 grams. So. Okay. So
sweet.
So I'm looking forward to using it, and hopefully, for more race events and stuff, and bring some coverage from the upcoming races over winter, build momentum into the new year.
Comes around. Cool.
But you've been working with the Yorkshire Balloon flights.
Still just kind of finished up with them. He's been very busy himself. The guy I was working with off the back of the York Balloon Fiesta. So I've released like a bit of a promo video to him now, like a little 40-second video.
Oh, nice.
Seems very happy with it.
That's cool.
He's not kind of shared it himself yet, but I think he has been snowed under with event stuff himself. So I'm just waiting for him to kind of share it before I plonk it on my social media myself. But he's keen to push further and do more of kind of a little documentary style video. Cool. He sent me some clips saying, can we do something like this? And it was what was it, Trent Palmer, the guy that's does all the little light aircraft videos. So something along those lines I think is
nice.
Is something that might be happening.
I bet he's been super busy because obviously a few weekends ago it was the actual Balloon Fiesta in New York. So I imagine off the back of that, he's probably been inundated with people wanting to go on a balloon as well.
Definitely.
I mean, I saw him up there this morning from my garden. I saw the Yorkshire Blue Price balloon because it's quite a unique one as well. And there was another one up there, and it was like the perfect morning for it. I was like, fair play. Get up there and making hay.
Yeah, definitely. I saw his post earlier on his Instagram. I think he'd been up to like 3,500 feet or something.
I think they got to about 4,000, I think. It was like the peak for hot air balloons. So.
Yeah, when I was chatting to him one morning, I found it quite impressive. He says, he's had a couple of mornings where he's been able to take off from York Racecourse and land back at York Racecourse just due to basically the wind direction at different heights essentially.
So of course.
So he can
That's clever.
Kind of take off and disappear in one direction, ascend a few thousand feet, and come back over the racecourse and descend onto it.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty cool, isn't it? But there's that. There's a friend of mine is part of like the York Rescue Boat. He's keen hopefully try and get some sort of like promotional stuff filmed there.
Nice.
And it was kind of like, how can you? Do you think you can keep up with our speed? But I was like, I'll certainly try my best. I was like, this sounds exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that could be cool. That could be cool. Chase some boats down the River Ouse or something. And other than that, I'm kind of, I don't know. I think I've kind of looked into more video editing stuff. I think I don't know. A few people have seemed to have gone a bit kind of dry on getting back to me regards work and things. I think other than chasing people with pumpkins in the fields this time of year to see if.
I think it's one of those. Like inbound marketing, I think is far more effective as well than just email marketing. Like people don't read emails, so if you can get things in their faces, like someone. All it takes is one person to see it, share it. It goes to a certain person. Then
That's
they go,
referrals and word of mouth is definitely
way more effective.
The way to win. The way to win work, definitely.
So, like you've got to start somewhere, haven't you?
Of course. That's it. You've got to keep the wheels.
But if you can just make content. I've got some ideas for a couple of weekends coming up. Just going out into the moors and doing some bits.
That's it. Even just filming what's on our doorstep.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
It's. I think we spoke briefly about like the real estate stuff and things like that, didn't we? But I don't know if that's very cost effective as into the line of work we'd
I think
do. But
I think it was something we were talking about earlier as well. Like we see it every now and again, particularly in the US. It's big, obviously, for doing some FPV indoor work. But I think even there, they're realizing that actually, what are you doing different other than kind of dropping in and going through someone's door? What are you doing that you could do differently with just a gimbal? And then you're also not got that risk and liability of knocking someone's prized possessions over.
Exactly. And all the paperwork flying everywhere.
Yeah, that's it.
Had stuck under the fruit bowl.
So,
you're right. That's it. A 360 camera on the end of a stick now and some clever editing, and it can look like a decent drone shot, to be honest.
And even like some of the gimbals, like you get with particularly like the Ronins and the RSCs and the RS2 and RS3.
Yeah.
They've got this FPV mode, and there's like some guys on Instagram, like some of the like motorsport guys. They'll go around like some of the race cars, and they'll do like these like quick panning shots, edits, and they just look mint. They look so cool, and you think, well, you could do that with an FPV drone, but why bother?
Why bother? There's a lot of effort to put into it. FPV wise.
I mean, there's a lot of editing that goes into that afterwards, but it's it's impressive stuff. So.
I can't remember now. What were we on about?
we're talking about real estate, just replacing things with a gimbal. Like if you
that's it, and a 360 camera on a stick.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like it comes down to safety, and if you can, I think I've spoken to other drone pilots like in sort of our area that have kind of done the drone thing, and they said yes, and they're not doing FPV stuff. They're just doing general photos and video with your Mini 2s and your Mini 3s and the like. And they say if they get offered to do video work, they've actually kind of pivoted into other things, so they've kind of gone, I'll do some food photography or I'll do some ground video or something else. So it's good to have a few other skills, I think, and a few bits and pieces to kind of pick up, and it makes you kind of probably more attractive to other clients as well, who are like, we don't have to hire just a drone guy. We can hire a guy who can do a whole video because he's got the skills and
that's it. It's nice to have something to pick up some little like close B-roll footage and stuff. I saw a guy's video on Instagram, and it was he was flying the DJI FPV with the motion control and stuff, and he just did a really nice edit, and it was just him, and he was like walking through a forest, but as he apparently filmed it all and edited it all himself, and as the camera panned past a tree, he was like quite far away, and then it went past the tree and it was closer, and then like as he opened the box lid, the camera panned round with the box lid, and as he clicked the props onto the FPV, the way they like turn and lock in, the camera just moved with it and rotated, so you rotated with the prop kind of thing. It was just all really cool. Well done, really cool, and just like the audio on it as well. I think the audio can play a big part in it. It had all the clicking locks of the Pelly case and him like folding out his camping chair and
so like sound design makes a massive difference.
I think it really does.
But the thing you have to kind of remember is that if clients want sound design, they've got to pay for it because it's the amount of time it takes. It's so time consuming.
You can't capture it at the same time you're flying a drone because all you'd have is the noise of the drone.
And then even if you try and like overlay it with other sounds you get, you can find online, you've still got to find those sounds. You've still got to like mix them all
in the stock footage and
pull the whole mix together to make it sound natural and authentic. And I think there's people in the US charging like a lot of money to do the whole shebang.
Yeah, I can imagine it's pretty involved. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But then there's other cases like if you're doing, say, Sinner lifter work, you might just film and then your SD card just goes off, or your
somebody else grabs it. Yeah, I can imagine that's the way the way it works in filmland and mainstream kind of.
They just have like a director of photography, and then they have someone who just is
you film it. 90% of it will end up on the cutting room floor anyway. And you get paid for whatever, I guess. But
that's what happened with the drifting stuff. They used quite a lot of the FPV footage in the end, but there was like loads of stuff. I had like it was probably I can't remember how many gigs it was from the whole weekend. Yeah, but there was a lot of footage, and I just dumped it all to the guy.
Yeah.
Really nice guy, the media guy, and he was like, "Yeah, cool," and chops through it. And he used quite a lot in the end, but there was like some clips. I was like, I like highlighted clips and like named them as like, "Oh yeah, really good battle," or pro final or whatever. And so but they were the ones that got used to some of the cases. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But I guess it's just different eye and what fits with the edit and stuff. I think so.
Nice. Did you get any of the footage back then that you managed to shoot, or did it all?
So I kept it also because we ran out of time at the end of the event to transfer it over because the media guys from back. So then I basically just took it home on my hard drive and then just Dropboxed it to him the next day. And it was same night I think, and he downloaded it, made the film. Cool. So I got to keep everything anyway. That's the nice thing about UK copyright as well, is if you film it, you get to keep it.
Yeah, you film it, you keep it.
In case of a lot of places, but generally speaking, I wasn't going to go and roll out a video before they'd.
No, of course, you'll be in an agreement, won't you?
Yeah, it's just even if you're not, it's just like a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, of course.
Like you're there to do a thing, and what we talked about because I had some drivers as well, some of the drift car drivers contact me and ask, have you got any clips from the event? And I said, well, I'd spoken to the event organisers, this, if the drivers want to give you stuff, they're not paying for the footage, so it's one of those things. So it's we've kind of come to a gentleman's agreement about whether we were going to share it with drivers or not. Yeah. I mean, for them it's a double-edged sword because they're paying to have someone there film the drone stuff. Yeah. So they're like, this is our video, this is ours, the precious, they want it. Whereas at the same time, if they gave it to the drivers have got more following than they've got.
No, that's it.
There's a whole series.
So it just distributes further, doesn't it?
If they did that, it would then be like, there's the British Drift Championship. This guy drives that. I'll go visit that as well. So, but we'd had a chat about it beforehand anyway, and that's what we decided on. So it's
cool.
Yeah, it is what it is. But hopefully getting there soon with some more drifting going on. But going into winter now, I've been kind of chatting to a few people from the drone place about sort of what's going on and especially commercial stuff over winter. And I think in my mind I had it where like FPV stuff would do more indoor stuff would be a good thing. And I think at the moment it's probably only really I've seen one person chiming in about doing some there's normal drone shots. I think they want to get some drone photographs like up in the corner of like an exhibition in the NEC.
Okay, cool.
And they're asking about like the best ways to go about it and stuff, and trying to avoid the drone from losing GPS and crashing itself into a steel building. But
in around a load of noise. Yeah.
But there's a good scope, but again, people just don't know about it.
No.
FPV drone stuff.
No, like we mentioned earlier, it's hard to describe it to somebody, even in a phone call or an email, unless you've got footage to say, watch this is what I can do, kind of thing. But it is.
Maybe one day we'll have like a podcast episode that's like everyone knows FPV. Finally cracked it.
It's mainstream. But you're right. As soon as you mention drone, I think everybody knows what a drone shot looks like. It's an aerial photo, an aerial video, and I think they think that's about it. Like you say, it's not the close proximity and fancy flowing flight that can be achieved.
There's some people getting on board with it. I think in the events and sports space, there seems to be people aware of it. Whether they want to use it or not is another question.
Yeah, I think like extreme sports wise have certainly grabbed onto it in the early days of its implementation.
You still see it, yeah. I see, and what's interesting is you still see a lot of people using 5-inch drones for close-up flying of athletes. Like mountain
That's
biking.
it, when you look at the
like
shadows and stuff and you can see.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like thinking like, why did you choose to use that as your tool? You could have used. Nowadays, now you can use anything and they're inexpensive. So why choose that particular tool for that job? Didn't really kind of.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the 5-inch and carrying a GoPro is kind of gone now, isn't it? In the sense of.
I mean that's why I use it at the drift event. But I didn't have to use that necessarily. But I mean, when the cars are doing with a Cinewhoop, you've got the limitation that once the cars start doing more than 50, 60 mile an hour, you're not going to keep up.
You're lagging behind.
You're not going to keep up. And you lose that kind of fine control because the throttle becomes very much like a.
It's at its limit, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got the very. With Cinewhoops, I find as well. With a 5-inch, you've kind of got like a relatively predictable throttle. And if you go beyond a certain point, you'll go either to full throttle because that's what you want to do, or everything else is like fine control and you can feel the weight of it moving and that's fine.
Yeah.
With Cinewhoops, you can't because they're either too light, so you end up being like quite low throttle cruising around, and then you'll put a small amount of throttle on it, it'll jump up massively and suddenly go. Or you get kind of the opposite, it'll be too heavy, but the same effect will happen. It's just higher in the throttle range. You have like nothing, and then suddenly loads of oomph and it's gone. But no control. So I can see why I don't use it for necessarily chasing really fast stuff. But for chasing mountain bikers down a hill at optimum like 30, 40 mile an hour at most.
Yeah, there's stuff that's better than a 5-inch.
Yeah, I think, and there's stuff that's safer than a 5-inch. I think people could pick that up. I think maybe.
Yeah.
In my 2 cents, I see more, especially as people get into FPV. I see them using like 5 inches of stuff, which is great. Like get into filming stuff, like film with what you've got. Like that's the tool you've got. That's fine. But if you're doing it at like a higher level, you can definitely.
You can get a lot of kit to cover all bases, can't you?
Yeah, you can.
That's for sure.
Even if it's like a 3.5-inch Cinewhoop that's kind of got 5-inch-esque properties, but you've got that protection.
Yeah, it makes loads more sense.
But you're not necessarily going to fly that indoors, and you can go for like a 25, 2.5-inch drone for indoors, whatever. Use a tiny whoop, I don't care. But whatever suits your shot. But I think there's definitely a right tool for the job.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see whether, and these are guys that are quite well established as well using these things, and I think maybe, and it's not like they're like, I have to use this camera because you can get a stripped down GoPro. If you're using a GoPro, you can use it whatever. If they're fair enough, if they're like, we're doing it with like, I don't know, I've got like a
specific,
I think a mirrorless camera on there that's kind of doing stuff. In which case, there are also other frames that suit the job. Like you can get 5 to 7-inch Cinewhoop frames.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess like we were saying earlier, like when you're at a certain point in the career of flying, you've only got so much budget to play with, so you're going to use the tools you have.
Definitely.
To get it.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I'd love to get something big with a nice big, like I say, mirrorless and DSLR and I like all the just drooling over people with the drool controls. So one guy flying the machine and the other guy pointing the camera and stuff, and
That being said, for FPV, I just don't see the point in that.
No, true. I think it deters from. It looked like. The shots I've seen, it looked like you were essentially replacing your old school kind of like helicopter camera crew shot, because it's somebody piloting and somebody else is pointing the camera. But if you want that FPV look, you're strapped in the pilot seat. Yeah.
Unless they're like right next to it, like when they're doing this stuff for the car shoots where they're like right close to the car and you see the camera kind of panning around. Yeah. Like you're not going to want to get that close as a line of sight pilot. Like that's just fair enough. No. You're going to want to, but at the same time, the FPV pilot's looking forward. The car's here. Yeah. But the camera's
they don't know where.
So they don't know where the car is anyway. So you kind of like, why?
Yeah.
And then
how?
there's a few guys now who have realised that if you put the gimbal on the bottom, you get way more flight times.
Mm-hmm.
And
rather than trying to balance all that
rather
weight
than just being like here, like I think like the lamp out of Pixar, like it's on the top. And it's just like, okay, I see the guys doing, they're pushing it, and the text coming through, I get it, but it's it does need a bit of a rethink in places.
Mm-hmm.
But like, especially now with like the DJI transmission system, I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a 120 millisecond.
Okay, no, I've not.
Hive. It's basically designed that for when you've got like a DSLR camera or a cinema camera on a drone, from where you would normally have like your sort of monitor to see what you're filming. It's basically the idea of that, but rather than have a screen on the drone that you obviously can't see from far away, you have a transmission system which shows almost full sensor idea of to the director then who can see the shot.
Yeah.
But because the latency is quite low on it, it's almost like as a line of sight. If you are doing like kind of panning shots next to a car, as long as you've got line of sight as the operator, if the camera operator's there with the gimbal being like, oh, you need to move a little bit further to the left, you've probably got enough time.
Yeah.
It's probably not the case in reality, and you wouldn't want to take that risk. But I feel like you probably have. Considering they'd be using a similar system for the 2-operator FPV setup,
yes,
it's probably indistinguishable at that point.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I saw some shots of the in Attenborough's Frozen Planet.
Oh yeah,
and it was somebody's like little compilation saying is it a drone cam or a dolly cam and stuff, and some of it was very hard to distinguish. And some of it you kind of thought, well, it has to be a dolly or some sort of crane or wire system or something, because they were getting so close into like through tree canopies and stuff. But the thing was, it was like some of the shots, it's like, oh no, maybe it is a drone, because it wasn't it wasn't like if it was on a wire, it'd be taking a direct route and possibly panning around.
It wouldn't have anything.
But this thing, it was like changing altitude and like going around S-bends and stuff. I'm like, they've either built a roller coaster in a jungle or it is a drone. But then it was like
the high ropes guys, the support team being like, we're gonna have fun with this. Just build a whole chain through.
Exactly. So it was interesting trying to watch it and see what could be. But I was literally like watching leaves on trees in the footage, thinking that leaf's gonna move if this is a drone. It's gonna get blurred all over, but no, nothing. That must be a rail. Must be.
Yeah. No, there was what did I see? I think it was a rallycross video where it had an FPV drone following it, and I tried to look to see who was filming it because it was really well done, but all the comments were like, oh my god, this is like, this must be a game, because there's no way that like you could follow that that closely. It's like, it must be from a game. I'm like, this isn't from a game. This is real life. You could tell that like you wouldn't have got that much detail and natural. It's when you see like the people in the audience. I mean, they're far away, but you can still like pick them out. They're not like pixelated square shapes like you get even in a lot of modern games when the graphics are really good. And the way the cars were kind of flexing and on the landing and stuff for some of the jumps.
I do like it when you see those comments being like, no, it's just CGI. Somebody's made this video. It's
amazing CGI.
It's a game.
This guy's But it's fair play to the pilot for making it look that smooth and transient. There was like no blips or anything. It was all really smooth.
Nice.
And it was done, I think, because he'd done it far enough away as well. You got a full picture of what was going on, like in terms of the action, but you weren't like right in on it.
Not
like,
close, super close in.
So it's kind of that fine back. And that was one thing when I was at the Drift event that they were saying that some of the guys they worked with before have got like been chasing the cars and then done like wraparounds, like you see like people do. They're kind of flying, following the car, and then they'll kind of overtake the car and come around again. Yeah. They said we don't like that.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Cool. I do it, and that basically just forced me to kind of try and manage my pace. Yeah. And there were a couple of shots where I did wraparounds just because the cars are span out. So I was like, well, I might as well just humiliate this guy and just do laps around him while he's still there. But I kind of saw that point there. They wanted to kind of simulate the sort of like third person view, and I spoke to a few of the
like you were along for the ride.
I spoke to a few videographers there, and they were like, it's kind of cool when you get that close, but from a videography perspective, they don't think it's that good. Okay. Like, so for me as a pilot, I'm like, if you can get that close to the car and stay that close, and be in sync with them, that's amazing. Like,
I wonder if that's the difference. I wonder if we're seeing it as, I'd love to be that good a pilot, but then actually, on the videographer side, when somebody's actually coming to edit it,
I think
look at that and go,
I
think crap, I can't use
I think that's it. So you kind of, they're looking at the eye of the whole, how everything's framed, where everything is, what it's capturing.
They're not looking from a pilot's point of view, are they?
No.
And the flying skills.
And so it's quite interesting getting their thoughts on it. It kind of made me think about.
I think we mentioned it before, didn't we? We said, we could film something and kind of think, obviously throughout a career of filming stuff, you're always going to have your best work and kind of something you might look upon as your not so good work, but I think the people that we can shoot anything, and me and you could look at it and go, it's maybe not my best, but then you could take that work to somebody and they'd be like, it's amazing, I love it, and but maybe that's because we're thinking, I didn't quite get close enough in on that, or
but that's exactly what happened with I did a video for York Coffee Emporium. I flew through their warehouse and then through some of their really nice barista training areas and stuff like that. And my flying was terrible. In my eyes, it was awful. I was like bobbing here and there, like trying to get it tightened up. But
a kind of a small space.
It was really small, like especially going up like the stairwell. I was like, ridiculous. And I've not really watched back that video, but I know that's really good. But I've spoken to like family and friends and people, and even the client at the time. They were just like, this is awesome, like really good. It's like really enjoyed it. And I was like, right. And I think it's just because it was different. Like you expect to see drone stuff around, sort of action sport stuff and other things I was doing. But just taking it indoors and using that environment was something they hadn't seen, and it kind of just blew their minds a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they're not looking at every frame like we are, like, oh no, I've got to delete that, that's rubbish. What's that go on there? So you'd have to give yourself a bit of a break sometimes and put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then you might have a really picky client who's like, no, let's do it all again.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen.
It's just how the world works, but generally speaking, most people aren't FPV pilots, so they're not going to have a clue half the time.
And that's it. Again, touching on what we spoke about at the beginning, it's very hard to actually describe what it is to somebody in the first place. Yeah. So
they're just amazed. You're like, oh my god, you flew a drone through and it didn't kill anyone. Amazing. Oh, you got a video as well. Amazing.
Yeah, that's it. You've got a camera on it.
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's it. So, we'll keep pressing. I'm keeping hounding certain indoor.
I think for winter stuff, that's where you want it to pay off, is getting some indoor work, and it's nice as well that you've kind of got a little bit more flexibility with the regulations with indoor stuff as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, at least the weather's not going to affect you. If anything, you might get some interference or noise, but I guess you can walk your route beforehand, literally with kind of goggles on and drone in hand, or walk around or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's rare. I mean the stuff I've done that has been indoor. I mean I've got to walk around the place beforehand.
Yeah.
I imagine there are probably places where you can't, like if you're doing like some manufacturing stuff and you literally physically can't go into the space because of all the tooling and stuff going on.
Yeah.
And that would be a bit different, but you just kind of work.
Been intrigued to see how Walk Snail does indoors in indoor environments. I know the DJI stuff that I've done, I've not had. I the first time I ever flew indoors and went around different rooms and things like that, I got a colleague just to like walk around different places, and I was just stood in one part of the warehouse and I didn't get an ounce of break. No. I might have had lag and not known it because I wasn't on the sticks kind of thing. Obviously they were literally walking around.
Yeah.
But then I flew the course that they walked with no problem. I thought on analog I'd definitely be getting break up at this point.
So I did so that Coffee Emporium video I did, they have like one part of it's a metal warehouse and the other part I guess it's technically metal roofed and all metal on the outside, but it's well cladded on the inside. I did that on analog, on 25mm, and I could go from outside into all of the rooms.
And you were alright through it.
Yeah, and it was a little bit of breakup in like the farthest corner, but it was actually surprised. I was really surprised how well it did actually.
It's one thing I do miss of analog is actually being able to fly through breakup. Yeah. Because when I have had it go wrong with DJI, it's like all of a sudden it's like I'm like
you can't
lost.
Actually deal with it. Yeah.
Have I frozen? Has something gone? Has it gone horribly wrong?
So that was the only thing I've done. I did try Walk Snail indoors for this skate park promo stuff we're doing. I let a couple of people have a go that were other pilots that joined me for the day for the promo shots, just to get their kind of take on it and see what they thought of it. And like. They were flying in around the skate park, didn't know it's really any like lag or anything. Then, there were a few of us outside anyway, so we said, we can go outside. flew from inside out, so the pilot was still inside. They were flying outside around the skate park,
right, nice,
on the outside bit, and they didn't have any issues like penetrating through the brick wall and all the metal and stuff that was around the top of us. So that seems to do pretty well as it was as a test. So I thought that was quite good. And then when I was at the drift event, I only noticed like really bad lag because I was stood right next to a metal container. Okay. That was where they kind of put me out of the way of all the public and everything. Yeah, yeah. And they were trying to keep everything distance wise as suitable as possible. So me and my spotter like at the end by this metal container, and so when their cars went down like the far end, I was stood quite close to the metal container, and so I basically had my line of sight of like the video reception was blocked. Okay, got you. Yeah. And even then I had like only a very few stutters on it, like very little. And I was like, that's quite impressive considering that I'm basically blocked by a big metal object. Big metal box. Yeah. So that was for me. That was then like, oh cool, this is a pretty good investment. Nice. And the goggles and the optics are all really nice as well. So it's quite a nice experience to have. Yeah, great. The only thing is that it's the same with like the HDO2 goggles. And some of the not modern ones as well. It's probably the same with the newer DJI goggles too, but I've obviously not tried them to know. But the optics where the lenses are, sit really close to your face. Okay. Which is really good for when you're wearing the goggles. Yeah. When you put them on your forehead, big like sweaty. You pull them down again. You're like, oh, I can't see it. So I spent all day, all day when every time I fly them, I just have like a glasses cloth in my pocket because you just every time it's just like right, put it back on. I forget. Otherwise, you get to the end of the day and you'll be like, I'm just flying in scars. Yeah, this is horrible. Fog. Yeah, you might. It's just so. Yeah. Regardless of how good the screens are and the optics, if your forehead is all the bits of your forehead are covering it, it's not going to do you any good. Do they have a fan in them? There's a fan, but like. If you're just a dirty human me, apparently, then you'll get covered up. Maybe that's the other option. You should wipe my forehead first. That's it. But no, cool. So that's the only thing. But I've been really happy with them so far. And they've got good diopter adjustment, so if you're a bit blind, you can sort it out and stuff. And nice. It's weird because obviously I wear glasses, but in the goggles I'm fine. It must be something to do with. I don't know. It's whether you're short or long sighted. So I'm short sighted, so I can see I can see fine close up without them on. It. So it's all good. It's all right, buddy. Without the glasses on, I can see see perfectly well. So luckily in the goggles, it's all right. That's good. Yeah, it could be the opposite way around and be like, I'd love to fly FPV, but I'm blind with box goggles. I've still got some box goggles in the garage. Some original like Hobby King Quantum, whatever they were. To be fair though, like if it wasn't the fact that they stuck off your head like like a skyscraper, like I'd probably I'm fine with box goggles. Because the field of view is amazing in them. Like, you can just get so much in. But I think it's like one of the Emax. It's like the current Emax Baby Hawk kit or something that you can get now. It's like all them for £100. That's got some decent reviews and box goggles with it and stuff. But that's it. You don't have to have fancy Fat Sharks or anything. You can just get by. But I've still got my Fat Sharks because I like cheap racing. That's what it takes to fly. Apparently that's cheap racing these days. But Fat Shark HDOs. I never had Fat Sharks. I had. What was it? They were like the Fat Shark state. But Aeon Ways. No, it wasn't that even. Well, Sky Zones, that was it. I went through 2 pairs of them. Yeah, so Sky Zone 04Xs are like the go-to for HD0 setup now because they support 4.3 HDMI. Ah, right. So the Fat Sharks only do 16.9. 16:9. Which you don't really notice until you go back to 4.3 because you fly like a letterbox on HD0 with 16.9 and then you go back to 4.3 and like, oh yeah, I can look up. I guess it does make a difference actually, especially in racing, considering the angle you can get to and stuff. If you've got a bit more field of vision vertically kind of thing rather than being letterboxed in 16. I mean it depends on if it's like a relatively like 2D track, if there's not really many like 3D features, then 16.9 versus 4.3 is not make too much difference. But when you start going up through towers and spiralling down stuff, it does make a difference. So sweet, man. So no, not got too much more planned for the future. I mean, everything's happening really fast at once for me at the moment this week, and then I know it'll be quiet again for a while. So so we'll see what happens into the winter. It's going to be interesting because first winter trying commercial FPV work and see what
I'm
happens.
hoping for some snowy weather to catch some nice.
That would look nice.
Nice snowy footage.
It would look nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but other than that, I don't know. I've not got much, not much in the pipeline myself. But I'll see what comes. Keep pressing for some indoor work, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, Yorkshire does look nice in the winter. I remember you did those shots from Robin Hood's Bay in the winter.
Yeah, that was the right place, right time. Yeah. That was out with the Mavic Air. And just I think it was pretty much its first flight, and I was my first DJI.
It's like over the sea in the snow.
Yeah, it's only the beast from the east. Yeah. It'll be fine. I remember taking it off and thinking, oh yeah, it's handling quite well in this wind. And I remember flying it out kind of like over the waves with looking back at Robin Hood's Bay. I think I got the warning saying it couldn't return to home anymore because the wind was too strong. So I was like, oh god, best come back then. So I came back, walked a bit further down the beach, took it up again, and my phone at the time was, I can't remember what phone I had, but it was some old Android.
Yeah.
And it obviously didn't like the cold because
it
just shut down.
Died,
Died. I was like, oh no. I was like, I remember this button here just returned to home. So I just pressed and held it, and it started beeping away, and luckily it came back. So that was my first experience of DJI and having a return to home button, and I think it definitely saved my drone. So since that point, I think that's made me a little more of a fan of DJI since then. But
I think the feature set in it's good. Yeah. And you see people on like the drone groups on Facebook and stuff being like, I'm looking for a drone, what's the best one to get? And everyone's just like, just buy a used Mini 2. Like, if you've got the budget, just get one.
Yeah, I think the Mini 2 is probably one of the best things out there for budget and price and its capabilities and weight and everything else. It's you can't get better.
No,
I think, really.
Especially for the radio link, because my mate's got a Mini 1, which I always thought was supposed to be quite good, but he said, but we were in the Alps and I could fly out like, good few kilometres out. Yeah. Barely see the thing still, it's tiny. But I could fly a few kilometres out, no radio issues whatsoever. He could only go about 500 metres before it was dropping out, right? Because it's just that difference in the radio. Yeah,
that was the other thing I did have with the Air. I can't remember what the Air ran on.
Is it on Wi-Fi still, or is it?
I think it was Wi-Fi, and it's range-wise it wasn't great. Right. Okay. Yeah. I can remember flying with a friend that had the first Mavic at the time, and he was just like,
off. Yeah.
I'm like, mine doesn't do that.
But it's like OcuSync 2. I think it's on the Mini 2.
Okay.
Maybe.
There we go.
And it works well. It's,
so much tech in such a little.
Have I had any fail-safe issues? I don't think I have. I had one. I think I was flying with the Millennium Bridge once, and I think just maybe a bit of RF and stuff just caused them going behind some trees and stuff, caused it to lose its mind a little bit. But it was literally just a case of like, the radio reception's low. It didn't drop out. It just warned me that it was getting low, and I was like, okay, cool.
I flew somewhere the other day. It just reminded me. I had a warning come up saying that it was a military. What it exactly was now, I'll have to look back on my flight log. But it said something about it being a military zone, on DJI and drone assist and everything. There was nothing. There was no flight restrictions. There was a park nearby that said might cause concern and stuff like that. All the usual stuff. Yeah. But as soon as the Mini 2 went up, it just said, you're near a military zone, and if you go into it, you just hover and stuff. And I'm like, but there was no indication of where it was or what it was.
No, so the same for me. I've done that before, flying near my house, and living in this area of York, like it's quite close to the police station and the army barracks. And even for me being several miles down the road from that, it still comes up being like, you're close to this.
You're close, right?
But you're not actually in it, and you just go, oh yeah, I know what that is.
That's fine. It. So I kind of panicked and just didn't. I landed, took off again, and had the same warning, and kind of read it again, thinking, I don't want to get stuck in a hover somewhere.
It's just in case you go, oh yeah, I'm going to go and send it that way, or if it has a flyaway. That there's a risk that you might end up in unwanted territory. Begging them, being like, can I please have my
can I have my football back?
Basically. So.
Oh, cool.
Cool, man. It's good to catch up.
Yes.
And, hopefully some more things have happened next time.
Yeah, that's it.
We'll get together again in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and we aimed for 3 or 4 weeks last time, and then Yeah, added on another 3 weeks.
Let's say 2 weeks this time.
Let's say 2 weeks. Yeah, if we record, we don't have to actually release it at the same time. But
yeah.
Yeah, like the first one was like, oh, we've got to do it like relatively current because it's DJ Avatar just come out. But
yes.
Now it's like nothing's happening, so we can just do it whenever. We can pretend that time happens when we want it to happen.
That's it.
That's the power of the internet.
Right. Yes. Lovely.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Catch you later, guys. See you for the next one.